Hi, my name is Jim Patton. I'm the president of the Sun City Anthem Pet Club. In this video, I'd like to talk a little bit about the Pet Club, what we hope to do this year, and why you might consider joining. We moved here about a year ago, and at that time we didn't have a dog, but we wanted a puppy. In fact, that's one of the main reasons why we moved here, is that we wanted to get a dog and we didn't want to have all the rules, associated with having a rental. So I started doing some research, and I discovered pretty quickly that these days it really does require a village to raise a dog. They say it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes a village to raise a dog too, with the proper socialization, get the dog to obey, and learn about all the issues associated with living in Sun City Anthem, Las Vegas, and this climate, etc. So I'm hoping that you'll watch this video and you'll agree that joining the pet club is really a good idea. Uh, Regardless of how active you really want to be in the pet club, it's going to be a source of information that I think is going to be really valuable to you, and so I hope you'll consider joining. Thanks.
One of the first things we'd like to do is find out what you think our priorities should be. And so we want to have you fill out a pet club survey after you become a member, um, or even prior to becoming a member. And in this, what we want to do is we want to establish priorities for the club. We want to, we want you to take some time to fill out the survey where we're going to ask you about a pet sitting co-op idea. We're going to ask you about a system for mapping coyote and rattlesnake sightings. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about both of those subjects in a minute or two here, and some special interest groups. Okay, now special interest groups. We have a population in Sun City Anthem who own pets of about 5,000 people. And so I think we have lots of opportunity to set up some groups of people who have common interests. Some of them that we recognize right away are the important need for socialization for puppies and rescues, basically getting dogs together with other dogs so that they become good citizens. Bereavement assistance for people who have lost their best friends. This is really a common problem, and it's hard to adjust, and it's good to have a group, a support group, to help you when that happens to you. Small dog walking group, athletic dog walking group. Scent training is something that I'm particularly interested in. I'd like to train my dog to be able to locate missing people and missing dogs, for example, and agility training. So these are some of the things that we ask you about in the survey. We also want to ask you about what you think about some panel discussions that we're thinking of setting up. And I'm not going to read all of these, but there are lots of really good topics here. And we'd like to get your opinion as to which ones of these we should focus our efforts on. Now, to take the survey, you come up here and you click that, and it brings you to the survey questions, and there aren't that many of them. It wouldn't take you too long to fill these out and give us some really good feedback. We'd really appreciate that. Now, taking a survey is great, but we need, and we're establishing a Facebook presence, which is really important to us. We have a main Sun City Anthem Pet Club page, okay, which is essentially open to the public, and it is a forum where we involve discussion of all members of the community, rescues, and people not necessarily associated with Sun City Anthem. Recently, we've set up another group within Facebook. This is a discussion group, and if you go to the discussion group after you become a member, then you'll see that we have a area here where we can post pictures of our dogs, and we can have fun with this. Now, I got the idea for this from a Facebook group that I belong to called the Love My Britneys Facebook group. And if you take a look at that group, There are 3,000 members in that group, and it's just a source of all kinds of great discussion. Okay, there's a lot of humor in this as well, but there's also, look at this one. This is a really good comment that somebody posted here. Very upset these last couple of days. I've been bringing the puppy now 11 months to doggy daycare to get socialized, not realizing that they don't let the dogs out in the grass to go potty. Okay, well, yeah, that's a serious question. And look at all of the responses that this lady got, to that. And that's just a wonderful thing. We need to have this kind of interaction among the members of our club. And now I want all of our members to join the Sun City Anthem Pet Club member discussion group. And when you go to this link in Facebook, I've already joined, so it says that I've joined there. But if you go there and you're not a member of the discussion group, it'll say join group, and you just click on that, and then we'll approve you as a member of the pet club if you're a member, and then you can start contributing. So that is really going to be helpful to us in managing all of the discussions. And I'd love to see photos of all of everybody's pets, and good videos and stories and questions. This is going to be really important in achieving great interaction within the club. Now, this came from the idea of babysitting co-ops, and I remember when our children were small, we were involved in a babysitting co-op, which worked really well for us. And these people have taken that idea and they've extended it to basically trading babysitting, or not babysitting, in our case pet sitting. We're going to use it for pet sitting purposes, but you can also trade your pet sitting tasks for other tasks. So let's suppose that let's say you're a professional pet sitter, okay, and you're a part of our community. And there are a lot of people that need pet sitting services, but they're unable to provide pet sitting services themselves in order to, balance out the co-op idea. So what you could do is basically you could build up a pool of tokens, we call them, and then you could sell your tokens to people who need those pet sitting services. Now, for the most part, people who want to have their pets sat and are willing to sit other people's pets will use the tokens that they earn through pet sitting to pay other people for pet sitting services, right? But in addition, you could, for example, you could pet sit for somebody, and if you don't really need pet sitting yourself, you could trade your tokens for someone who's willing to come and help you, maybe with some tech support, for your computer, or maybe some household chores or some landscaping or something like that. So this is a really flexible system for being able, that revolves around pet sitting, but doesn't just involve pet sitting. Your pet sitting tokens that you earn can be traded for cash. They can be traded for other favors that people do for you. So it's really a good system, and this babysitter exchange is a good software system for us. We don't have to do the work of developing this. They've done it, and this is a proven system, and we can use it and just apply it to our community. So what are babysitter exchange communities? Well, the communities are groups of people that support each other. It only takes one person to start a community. It can be a great tool for existing communities like us, church groups, parents organizations, etc. And each community has a captain, somebody who basically is in charge of this software, who's the organizer of the group. And that person creates and manages the community, and the system makes it really easy to do that. And we could rotate captains from time to time or whatever. So it's a pretty neat system. Now, the best way to really explain the nitty-gritty details of this is to look at this detail sheet that they provide. This they give you a basic system for free, which is pretty limited in what you can do. And what we're going to purchase from them is a premium system where we can have unlimited community size. And this is why we need, a lot of people in the pet club so that we can provide everybody who wants these services, the pet sitting services. Double qualification, that's interesting. What that means is it allows you to specify which parents in your community are allowed to perform which services on your behalf. So, there may be 50 or 60 people in the pet sitting co-op, but you only want a few of those to pet sit for you. So this is how you can double qualify. You can winnow down the pool of people that you actually want to work with, and allows you to opt out of getting requests for services that you're not likely to accept. All right, so monthly requests, unlimited. You can ask for as many pet sitting sessions as you want, or offer as many services for pet sitting tokens that you need. It's unlimited. Add notes to requests. Yeah, and the notes, you see, the pet sitting system here, you need a system which allows you to communicate with the people, because they're going to be providing special instructions, like, okay, I do or I don't have a doggy door. I do or I don't have a fenced-in backyard. I do or I don't work all day. These are the kinds of information that you're going to want to provide, in the special instructions, that allows you to match basically your needs and capabilities with other people's capabilities and needs. Change community name, yes, community messaging, so that you can message each other through the service if you need to. First accept or select available, these are kind of details that we don't need to see right now, but starting tokens, everybody needs to be given a set of tokens to start the process. Okay, so we can determine what that is. And then there's a certain value associated with each token for each task, which we can get into a little bit later on, when we really actually start establishing this, assuming that people want it. And that's why the survey is important, because if nobody wants the pet sitting co-op, we're not going to go to all this trouble to implement all of this stuff. But I did want you to understand a little bit about what it's about, in some detail. Service types, that's a detail that we can talk about later, but it allows you to provide house sitting, or maybe take somebody to the store, or these other services that you might use in exchange for pet sitting tokens. So that's all included in here. It's pretty slick. We can configure the services, flexible pricing rules, which means that we can set a value on the tokens. For example, the tokens for pet sitting versus the tokens for landscaping, and the tokens for an overnight visit for your pet as opposed to a couple of hours. So all of that kind of thing. We have flexible pricing rules. That's what that means in there. Penalties, we can impose penalties on people if they don't follow through on their obligations, just to keep people honest. We can, or we don't need to do that, but we have the capability of setting that if we want to. And we can rotate the captain roles, etc. And basically that's what it amounts to. It costs us about $165 a year for this, which I think is a pretty reasonable price. So anyway, that kind of summarizes what the pet sitting co-op idea is all about. Another project that I would like to initiate this year for the Pet Club is a coyote and rattlesnake sighting system. Now, we know that we're not going to get rid of coyotes or rattlesnakes, and for environmental reasons, maybe we don't want to, even though they do represent a clear and present danger to our pets. So the next best thing for us is to all work together to record when and how frequently we see coyotes and rattlesnakes in the community, so that we will know, how big a problem it is, especially if we can accumulate locations of sightings and come to some conclusion about some areas are definitely more prone to those kinds of critters than other areas. That would be very helpful for us. Now, what this means is to establish a system that allows people to input the location of the sighting and some of the details. Now, here's an example of a system that is being implemented in Florida for panther sightings. Okay, and this is something that I think that we could copy and do ourselves. The idea here is you've got a Google map, and you just can drag this thing around, and as you do that, what it produces is the latitude and longitude of that particular location, in this field here. And then you just add in the date and the time of the sighting, put in your name, and maybe you take a picture of it, maybe you don't, I don't know. Anyway, you save that, and that goes into a database, and we can then periodically pull that database and create a map of all of these little pins that we've stuck in the map. And over time, we're going to be able to determine, where the coyotes and rattlesnakes frequent. So, even if we get the same sighting 2 days in a row, that's fine, because we know that, for example, that coyote is hanging around that area. And if we see, a rattlesnake, various people see the rattlesnake, that's fine. If we get a lot of data, then we can gather that. And so ultimately, for example, here's an example from the state of Washington for wolf observations. And eventually, after we do that sighting business, we can produce a map like this, where we can click on a particular point, and then we can get, the date. We can get all the details about that sighting. The observation date, the time, and anything else. The number of pups, blah blah. We can ask all kinds of stuff that we think is interesting. The observation details ran across several large tracts and mud on trail. We asked the only other people there if they had large dogs with them. They said no, so it must be a wolf. Anyway, after you have the sighting data, then you can produce a map like this, which we can make available to our members to show us just exactly, where where all of these critters are. So I think that would be a great project. It may take a little bit of doing, but it's something that if people are interested in, I'd be willing to work on. So in our survey, this is where you can add comments and set priorities for that kind of a thing. Anyway, that's a few of the ideas that we've had. I would encourage you to explore our website. We're going to be building this website up over the next year to include a lot more material. We'll have links in here for all of these rescue groups, for example, and we'll have tabs up here for the pet sitting co-op and the sighting system, after we've gotten to work on that. So I would encourage you to keep a lookout, for all of our activities. And again, I would strongly encourage you to join the organization, because a lot of these services, are going to be restricted to our members. It's not a lot of money. It's $10 a year, and that will support our activities in all of these worthwhile projects. So please support us. And thanks for listening.